I know, but there's like a force field for us when you go near the strip. Like,
you know how many times I'm not going to the strip. People, when they come to town, hey, I'm in town this weekend. I'm like, have fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going. Have a good time.
All right, Cutler Cast episode. Yeah, but you just gave it away.
So what? They'll find out.
Episode 21. 21. Shout out to all you guys that are following along. We appreciate you so much. We have a few things we wanted to talk about. I'm heading away for a getaway, business, pleasure.
And I just got here, and I almost ran out of gas again.
You know why you almost ran out of gas?
Because it was like I'm
gonna call you out right now.
Okay.
You didn't want to pay California gas prices.
That's part of it.
He's laughing.
It's a principle.
Okay.
But I could have got gas at a different station in Nevada.
A normal person goes, if you drove from Vegas to California and you have half a tank of gas,
yeah,
they fill their gas tank and they say, okay, I'm going to drive back to Vegas.
Since when have I been normal?
So instead, you want to risk the chance of running out of gas, which I've done way too many times. I've told the gas stories and running down in pink tights.
Yeah, but you did it when you were young. I'm like a
grown with
man.
No cell phones, running to pay phones. Hey, call my friend, bring me the can of gas. Jumping over the guardrail so people couldn't see me running down with the pink tights.
This is the problem. I could have made it, but it's really windy today. So as I was going up the hills, the wind was pounding. So when I was on the phone and my light came on and I'm like, oh shit, it says I have 50 miles. I'm like, I don't have 50 miles. I was like 20 miles away. So I'm coming down the road and I'm on the phone with someone. I'm like, oh shit, I might run out of gas again. I've only done this once in my life. So I was about to go past the next exit, and all of a sudden I felt like a little jerk in my vehicle, and I went, oh, shit. So I came off, came down, idled, came to the stop sign, the red light, sat there because my truck shuts off, and then when the light turned green, the engine turned on, I went around the corner, and right as I came around the corner up to speed, the lights came on and said engine disengaged, and I coasted around, and it stopped right where I got gas. So I did not run out of gas.
Where in Blue Diamond or?
No, right by South Point.
Okay.
So I got that far back. Almost made it to here.
But we had a call about this the other day. The gas prices are down a little bit.
Yeah, no. I think
we're still higher than everywhere else. You guys are laughing on, ours is like.
It was like $4
regular is
here.
$3.70 a gallon. So
mine was $4 here in California. It was like $5.50.
Yeah.
I know. You know what's stupid? It's $1.50. It's not that big of a deal, but it's the principle that I don't want to pay it.
No. I mean, you'd rather run out of gas. So we had a little action in Vegas last week, and the women's conference was here. It was like a workshop for a lot of the pros came in.
They had pretty much all the top pros, all the reigning Olympia winners. Everyone came in, and they did like a big, just kind of like a clinic workshop. Yeah. And they taught they had people come in from the NPC that just wanted to learn more about how, whether it's for posing or hair or nails.
I see a lot of people in the gyms, and they actually attended the event, and I asked, it was lengthy. It was all day, like 9 to 5 or something like that. And, a lot of the top people were here. And, Vegas, man, like I'm going to, I keep talking about Vegas, and it's becoming more and more the place that people want to come to.
Yeah.
And I know there's been rumors of more gyms opening, which, you and I, we get to train at a few different places, and we're kind of like, man, what would we do with more gyms? But listen, I mean, everyone's hitting right now. I talked to Iris. I was at Powerhouse last week, and she said it's getting a lot busier there. Mm-hmm. I actually trained there a few days. I'm still splitting time between Fit Club, Powerhouse, and Kilo Club. Mm-hmm. Those are the most gyms that I train at, It really depends on my mood, right? I want to avoid when it's really busy. So I like to get the training done, even though our training is only like 30 minutes. But the funny thing is, even when I was at my peak, I trained twice a day. I mentioned I would do a body part at a time. If I was doing back or, quads or whatever, hamstrings, I seem to do a lot more sets, definitely, especially for quads and for back training. My workouts weren't that long, only like 40 minutes.
It doesn't need to be.
I mean, you call me sometimes, and I mean, you're done in 15, 20 minutes a lot. So I think there's a lot of misconception on how much time you're supposed to spend in the gym, and it's not about how much it really depends on what your tempo is, right? Yeah. And I was always a short rep guy, so I would do 45 to 60 seconds rest, and usually that, if we're training together, you and I, like you go, I go, right? Yeah. And we stick to the same weights, as you notice. We don't like. And that's how it was, and that's the thing. Like if we had to adjust the weights, even at my peak, I would just be training with someone that was relevant to my strength. Yeah. And I think that was what was ideal. So I think, when someone's spending 2 or 3 hours total in the gym, I think it's just too long.
I just think it's counterproductive. You don't need to spend that much time. Like even when I go now, if I have shit to do for the day, I can go in and let's say I'm doing chest. Yeah. I can do 5 exercises, 3 really good working sets on each. I'm not a pro bodybuilder, so I don't need to lift that heavy, with like a 30-second break in between. So you can legitimately train a muscle in 20 to 30 minutes. I just,
I think back in our era when we had the magazines, like we followed the pros routines, and we had different theories. And, we had the Mike Mentzer training that heavy duty that Dorian kind of made popular. And then, everyone kind of followed what Arnold did. And then, of course, Lee Haney was like, stimulate, not annihilate the muscles. And then Gaspari was like a drop set guy or whatever. So I think we kind of adapted to different training styles, but it just seems like the internet confuses on people on what to really do for the training sets now. For me, I like to do I think our standard is we go in the gym, we do, for the first exercise, we do a couple warm-up sets, and then we do 3 working sets. Yeah. So
usually the first we do 5.
Yeah, so I've always done 3 or 4 working sets. And then once we jump into the second movement, we're already warm, so we do 3 sets of that, focus on 8 or 12 repetitions, whatever, and then we move forward. So I think I always tried to find 4 different movements to do for each body part. Yeah. So for chest, we would do incline, a fly, a flat bench, and then 1 more movement, whether it's pec deck or incline, cable crossovers, whatever. Yeah. So we have 4 movements that we do. So it's a total of at least 3 sets plus the warm-up sets. We're looking at 15, 16 sets. So that seems to be the bodybuilding nature. It's not like the power lifters where they do and they rest 5 minutes or 10 minutes between
Now what about, sets. Let me ask you, when you were in your peak strength and you were trying to grow in the off season, and you would, let's say you're doing chest and you're grabbing the 160s, 170s, 180s, would you still only rest a minute in between, or did you give a little bit more time?
I did.
Okay.
I mean, a minute would be long.
Yeah.
45 seconds, man. I remember seeing stars a lot and being I remember being in the dead of winter where it's Sahara Decatur Gold's Gym. And bro, I would do a set of T-bar rows, and then, I would put some more plates on or whatever. And I remember not being able to catch my breath and thinking, okay, I'm going to go into this next set. And I was breathing so heavy that I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able? I felt like I was going to pass out. There were times where I pushed myself so hard that I had to literally, I was starting to see dark,
Wow.
That's how hard I pushed myself. So when I go to the gym now and I train, I feel so much better that I don't have to push to that extreme.
If you could go back, what you know now, then would you have still done it?
Still would have done it because I
would
feel
you have took another minute if you were seeing stars? Would you have waited?
No, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, bro. I mean, I just thought that you had to push yourself to extreme, and maybe that extra rest would be better for me. But at the same time, I felt like that pace just made me that much greater. No one could keep up. So I think it was kind of a little bit of an ego thing. When everyone came out and trained with me, no one could really keep up with the speed. I know a lot of people talked about, hey, Ronnie's stronger than Jay, but come train with me and see the speed and see how you're able to keep
2, 3, 4 minutes in between sets.
and I was going up in weight, pyramiding up. So I think that's what's kind of cool about it.
Could you have done the giant sets like Milos had?
I think if I got accustomed to it, yes. But right now, if we were to go train with Milos, say if we wanted to shoot a Cutler cast workout with Milos, why would I put myself through that?
It's brutal.
Why would I do that? I'm not training to that extent. No lie, I did the newbie on Saturday with Andy.
I saw that, yeah.
Bro, I can barely move my quad still.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
And you didn't go super
No,
heavy.
and we did a triple drop on hacks.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
And I was dying. Like, I was like, okay, that's enough. And I'm thinking in my head, like, why did I just do this? And I wasn't like, oh, I think I train still decently, like, to condition myself. But I was so freaking sore. And I'm still, dude, I'm touching my legs. I'm still sore. It's almost a week later.
And that, but you did, I was watching some of the training because we were in the gym. Mm-hmm. And I remembered seeing when you had like 2.5 plates on the hack, because we usually only go up to 2.
Well, and I had a band on it too.
Yeah. And I'm like, what is he doing here?
Yeah.
Because I saw your face really
well, you had the band. It was easy. That band.
Well, you had to show off for YouTube.
We're talking about how it's easier on the knees,
Yeah,
but
it actually makes a difference.
For legs, we don't go bananas. I mean, even for the leg press, I think it did 4 plates a side, and normally we go to 5. Like, no, sometimes actually we only do 4 a side,
Could you do the newbie on a regular basis?
I could, but it was a lot of work to, like, walk around with the thing. And
you got to roll the car.
And he charged $150 for that thing, but it was really good. It actually... It stimulated a lot of my legs, but I couldn't imagine having that back in my era. But you couldn't convince me. When I was Mr. Olympia, I don't know if you could have convinced me. I was too hard-headed.
Yeah, I don't think you would have. I think Milos could have convinced you back then to do some giant sets. I think you would have been okay with it. I've watched numerous people. I've watched, Urishna did it. I watched Regan do them. Some of the other different athletes. Rahel came over and did it. And by the time they're done with that, like, they can barely walk, or if their shoulders, they can barely lift their arms up. I just don't know if it's necessary to go that.
So I saw you last night training at Metroflex in Marietta.
I like
kind of crazy to think, like, you were 4 hours away, like, a day ago, right? And training at a different gym. And
yeah, we went to Temecula. Urishna was here for the women's conference, and then we went there so she could go see Kim Oddo. And I got to see, for the first time ever, Kim's private studio, and I got to see.
Tell me about the setup. I know you had some flex.
Yeah, dude, he had all the old school flex equipment in there, like. And I remember us when we were in Budapest, they had it there, and I remember you saying, like, "Holy shit, we never see this." And he had the one. It was almost like an octagon where it had like extension and like just 4 different shoulder press and all this around like an octagon. It was like a big piece of equipment. So we got to go out there, and he put her through some workouts. They weren't giant sets, but she wasn't happy.
Really?
Like, no. Well, happy because he destroyed her.
Yeah.
But just from bands and just doing super slow movements, like way less weight than she normally does. But just seeing him put her through these workouts, and then him showing her those final details with posing, like turning your toe a tiny little bit makes your physique look completely different, or moving.
Did you notice the difference?
Oh, for sure. And the thing I noticed is, and I didn't say this to her, but it was something I just paid attention. She would come out. He would say, okay, show me what you do. And she'd walk out and do her routine. And he'd say, hey, okay, what I want you to do is try this, 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 and this. Most people would have done it 20, 30 times before they get it. She walked back, came out, and did it exactly how he described it to her. Like every last one. And I'm like, holy shit, she can change that quick? Like, because you know how it is. Someone could have told you, hey, Jay, do this with posing. You'd probably still go back to what you're used to. But just seeing the difference there and seeing the little tweaks that he's made, I think will make.
How many weeks is it now?
4 weeks out.
Okay.
So I expect her to be right in that thick of winning that.
So title. It's funny. She did the posing and like seminar like 2 days prior or whatever, and now she's working on tweaks to even be better.
I mean, hey, no matter how good you are, you can always get better. And having Kim there, he's got great success.
How was the weather in California? A little warmer than here, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was chilly. I mean, we're in Temecula, which is kind of deserty ish, but
I almost moved there. Almost bought a house there. Yeah, it was funny. I tell the story that, I was in Orange County, and I had a condo there. And I started looking at homes, and I had a particular style home I like.
What kind?
Well, it was like a 1-story. Yeah. I wanted a 1-story. I didn't want stairs.
Homes.
Okay, so it was a little limited, like living in Aliso Viejo where I was, and you go to like some of these beach places, and you have 2-story homes because obviously the glass and overlooking stuff. So I started just like kicking around, and I ended up somehow in Marietta, Temecula for some reason, because someone's like, "Oh, you can get some really nice land." I wanted a little more land, right? I had the big dog at the time, Trace. So we went down and looked at a house, and it was $1.4 million, I think, for this house, and this was back in 2001. Okay.
How big?
And it was nice. It was probably like 3,500 feet, but it had some property fencing around it and everything else. And the house was nice, but you know, it was built probably in, you know, the mid 90s. So this was, you know, early 2000s.
Maybe
so it was already
not, but before long, you'd have to do some type of upgrades.
Somehow, you know, I'm like, we really want this house and whatever. And we ended up in Vegas like within 2 weeks. And I was, you know, visiting a friend or whatever, going to the gym and working out. I think I was training for the Arnold at the time in 2002. So this was just after 2001 Olympia. And, you know, Carrie came back. You know, she had been out with her girlfriend, the guy's wife. And she says, you have to see this house. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, you have to see it. It's just like what we looked at last week, but better. So, of course, I go that afternoon and I looked at my original home that they were building here. It was a track home. And, dude, it was like $320,000 or something, comparable to 1.5. I said, well, this is kind of a no-brainer. So that's when we kind of decided to move.
You packed up like the Beverly Hillbillies.
To move to Vegas, you know.
You packed up like the Beverly Hillbillies and moved your shit to Vegas.
Dude, it's like literally we made the decision and it didn't last. Like it was just immediate, like a web moving to Vegas.
How crazy is that I get it if you're like on the beach to have this massive price, you know, discrepancy, but for you to be in Temecula area, which is kind of deserty-ish, and it's not right by the water, for you to be only 4 hours apart and have literally $1 million more, plus all the taxes and all the other
Well, back then I didn't really know because it was kind of premature to that. It was really before I got heavy into real estate and everything else. But, you know, I knew it got really hot there.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it gets just as hot pretty much as Las Vegas. And, you know, I didn't know what Vegas was about that. You know, I had been to Vegas before and I'm like, Vegas is great, right? Yeah. Great restaurants, you know, the strips here. And I mean, listen, it's way built up compared to then. You know, we got all the stadiums and everything now. But I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter where I live. I'm contracted. I mean, I go to the gym every day, and I found these 24-hour gyms. Gold's Gym was like
that was the
best at the time. So I'm like, you know what? This is just easier. And I mean, we talked about. I went to my accountant. I said, what do you think of Nevada? He's like, well, no state income tax. And he's like, you're going to save XXX. I'm like, okay. Well, I was just starting to come into some pretty good fortune. And next thing you know, I was in Vegas. So, and the house was done within 2 months because it was actually just broke ground and started to get construction.
How long did you live in that house for?
I was there from 2002 to 2007, 5 years.
That was a good house. Like you could easily still be living.
Oh
there.
yeah, I mean, I would. It was a beautiful home. I just looked it up. It's 1.4 million now.
Wow.
So what the house in California was is what it's worth.
I wonder how much that house in Cali is now if you looked it up.
I wonder, yeah.
What if it went down in price?
No, I think it probably about the same, you know. I mean, Vegas real estate's like I don't think we're going to hit any kind of recession. I think we kind of discussed that.
Yeah, it's like I've been looking.
You look a lot more.
Yeah, I look a lot because I want to buy a house here. But I'm the same thing. I don't like 2-story homes. I like 1-story, and it's not easy to find.
So do you look at
house.
Just ranches or?
Yes. When I go through to look up the potential houses, I always check off. I don't want a 2-story home, and it's not easy because everything here is built up because there's not a ton of land in the area.
They keep the lots.
So if you get a 4,000 square foot 2-story house, it might be $500,000, and that same 1-story house is going to be $800,000 because they you know the
funny thing is all people that lift weights don't want stairs. What's up with that?
You know what it was? My uncle when I was young, he had a 4-story house, and I always remember
he had an elevator though.
He had an elevator too, but you just get tired of stairs. It's nothing to do with bodybuilding or whatever else, but you know how it is when if you get down to the bottom, you're ready to leave the house, like, oh shit, I forgot this. You got to walk out. Like for you, if you're in your car and you forget something, the kitchen's real close.
Yeah. See, the funny thing is we always had basements in the East Coast. So growing up there, you know, you always had stairs, right? Yeah. And it wasn't until I moved out west that you had just slabs and homes being able to just be built on a slab.
They do have basements at some houses.
Of course they do, but you have to have a basement because of the frost and in the East Coast. So when I started to learn about ranches and 1-story homes, it just seems like a lot of retiree people move into 1-story homes. I mean, if you look in some of these,
it
over 55
feels
homes.
Bigger too, because if you're like, take your house, if you're in the kitchen, You have house this way.
Yeah.
You have house this way, this way, this way. If you're in a kitchen in a 2-story house, you can see all 4 corners from that living room, and then there's stairs that go up.
Let me ask you a question. If money was no object, where would you live and what kind of home would you live in?
1-story house.
Would it be a huge house, or would you have a movie theater? Would you have a bowling alley?
Theater,
would you have a tennis courts? Would you have basketball courts?
No, I don't think anything. I think the max I could have, look, I don't have kids. So if I had kids, I'd probably think differently. But I don't think anything over 3,500 square feet for me is, I would never need.
So what do you think is like ideal if you said, is it like a home theater or?
Yeah, I'd put a home theater, like a little entertainment center. 3 bedrooms, 3-4 bathrooms.
Why do you have so many bedrooms if you're by yourself? Just for guests? Or
yeah, family.
Office space?
Yeah, office
garage,
space.
How much garage would you have? Would you have a high garage?
I would always have a larger garage, and I would have probably 3 cars, but on one side I'd want it further because I like doing like woodworking and stuff, and I like messing
Would you
with
have
stuff.
an RV?
Maybe.
Would it be a drivable RV or a pull trailer?
No, it would be pull trailer. That's why if I did, I would get a larger place put. I wouldn't mind getting like a 45 foot.
Jay, would you have a motorhome or a trailer, 5th wheel? Do you think at some point you'll buy one or? Yeah.
Could you imagine if Jay had one? Yeah. Could you imagine? There's times where I'll want to go places and he'll be like, they don't got a 4 Seasons there.
No. It's kind of funny. Like we go to New York for this seminar, and Dan, I sent Dan the hotel, and he's like, Jay Cutler's staying in this place. It has
it's a Hilton.
It has like a kitchenette and all that.
Of course.
So
no, but I would want, in a perfect world, I don't want to see a neighbor. I want to walk out.
Okay, so where is this hut? Where is this 1-story, 3,500 square foot home?
Somewhere between northern Utah to Montana to Idaho, in that area.
What do you think about that? You shaking your head, huh?
Yeah.
So you're not staying in Vegas, huh?
No. I mean, Vegas has its purpose. If you're trying to get ahead in life, if you want a good career.
I know, but you think you're going to reach the point where Vegas is like,
I'll always have a place here. No, because Vegas isn't enough for us. If you're someone who's fucks around the strip all the time, and
I know, but there's like a force field for us when you go near the strip. Like,
you know how many times I'm not going to the strip. People, when they come to town, hey, I'm in town this weekend. I'm like, have fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going. Have a good time.
Yeah, we have like a force field around the ends of the strip.
So many people, when they're like, how do you live in Vegas? I've been there before. It's crazy. I'm like, no. I said, you've been to the strip. That's nonsense. I want nothing to do with that.
Do you ever drive down the Las Vegas Strip? Yeah. I did the other day.
What for?
Because I came from the Wynn and I had to go to the Yaks event.
Yeah.
So I actually drove from this direction in the Wynn. That's pretty much the whole strip, right?
Yeah.
And I drove and luckily the traffic was flowing. It was the middle of a Saturday, so it wasn't like anytime after like 5 or it starts getting dark and the Bellagio fountains are going off and all that, like people are pulled over and people crossing the street. I mean,
it's just taking pictures.
And it just amazes me that no matter it doesn't matter how cold it is. Like today's a little chilly with the wind and everything. There's always people out on the strip, always walking the strip.
Because people come here.
Yes.
Like we live here, but people come here. It could be once in their life.
And the sign. What about the Vegas sign? Always.
I've never stopped to see that.
I have.
How many times?
Once. I did it. I had to do it.
I've never done it.
Did we do it for you? I think we did it for YouTube, actually.
I've never done it. I drive by it a lot.
Were you with me then or Dave? No, I took that. Oh, you took it. Okay.
Yeah, I've driven by it countless times. I have no.
It's always packed. Always.
Should we go do a Cutler cast on the road?
No, because we already did it for JTV.
We'll do on the road, Las Vegas, going to see the sign. Where would be, so I know this about you, and some other people may not remember, but there was a period where you almost moved to Utah.
Yeah.
And you built the house
up there, yeah.
So where did you build? Like, what made you want to go?
It was a place called Suncrest, because I, at the time, like, I thought, okay, I'm going to have a family, and, I was doing so well, and I thought, I got invested in a company called Trigenics, and it was with Bruce Jenner, and, it was a multivitamin at the time. And, I thought, my friends that were coming from there, like, I saw, like, the seasonal things they were doing. Like, listen, I always like snowmobiling and skiing and riding the ATVs and all that stuff before, like, all the UTVs came out. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I kind of wanted to migrate back. And I almost, At that same time, I was looking at a house in Massachusetts in a place called Boylston. And it was a beautiful home, kind of like closer to the freeways from where I actually grew up, because I was kind of like way away from the freeway. So it took me like an hour just to get to Boston from where I lived. But this was a little closer, probably like 40 minutes. And, you know, everything that I was looking at was well over $1 million at that time, because I was trying to upgrade from the home I was in. I mentioned that I paid, by this point, the house had gone up to almost $1 million, you know. So I was trying to look for the ideal house. I wanted a movie theater. I had an elevator in the house in Utah.
How big was it?
8,500 feet.
It's massive.
But it was a multi-story because it was on a mountain. I had a heated driveway. You need a heated driveway in Utah, right? It was phenomenal. All glass in the back overlooking, like there was no one around me. You know, it was just a beautiful spot. And man, you know, I can't imagine what that house is worth now.
What was the reason? So you built it.
I built it, and I just never moved there because I won the Olympia. Mm-hmm. I was building it in 2005, and I won the Olympia, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not ready to move here. And that's when, you know, the Olympia, I won the Olympia in 2006. And then in the end of 2006 is when I started looking at the home here and that I live in currently. Yeah. They were building it. And I was, you know, I didn't end up moving to Mass. Like, it was like, am I going to move to Mass? Am I going to go to Utah? Am I going to stay in Vegas? And, of course, the Olympia was one, and it changed my life.
When you sold that house, did you make money on it?
I not what I would have made if I would have kept it.
Wow.
It still wasn't completed, you know?
I wonder if you could look it up now to see how crazy it is.
Yeah, probably could, yeah.
Wow. I mean, I like I said, I look up the real estate stuff. I look at all different states too. Mm-hmm. Because in an ideal world, and I've told you this before, I would want to be somewhere where I got 40 to 80 acres. I don't want to see neighbors. Build a house, do whatever you want. If I want to build a garage, I don't want to have to call a homeowner association. I want to be able to do what I want. If I want to walk out naked and take a piss in the backyard, I don't want anyone to be able to come.
I think you have to always get building permits, though, no matter
you have to get building permits, but nobody in a homeowner association can say you can't build this in the backyard. You know, like,
yeah, right now we have a burnt house in our neighborhood, and it's a fucking eyesore, dude.
How long? It's been there for a long time.
Long time. And we're getting complaints. I got emails that are sitting in my phone from yesterday because kids are going in there and throwing, I mean, the roof's caved in, and people are like, listen, we just need to demolish this house. The insurance, because they thought there was some sort of an insurance thing, they're questioning, I think, releasing the funds for it or not giving enough, and they just haven't torn it down yet.
Can you buy it for cheap?
I don't know if I'd want to. It's next to a catch basin.
That's the one in the corner, right?
Yeah. It's close to the street, too. So, as you know, remember, I'm in the kind of the middle, right? So you go through the gates, and I'm there. That's on the end where the busy street is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of loud.
I could have swore that. Didn't someone buy, like, both of them?
They bought two separate people bought each lot. So the one on the other side, the guy's supposed to be coming from California, I guess, to build a house there.
So if you didn't live in Vegas where you're at, where would you go?
Why? California.
What part?
I mean, Dana Point, like somewhere where I was just near the beach.
Just like a condo, or would you get a big, huge house?
I would get a house with some glass. And I mean, remember, I live in 5,300 feet now. So it's like, I want to have in a home, ideally, a bigger garage, because obviously I have more vehicles. I want to have a gym. I want to have
how many people have
office?
a 6-car garage, and it's not enough?
Yeah, I know. Well, I have a gym and two of it, you know, and quads and whatever else. So, I definitely would have.
Do you have your movie theater?
A theater. Mm-hmm. I would have at least one spare bedroom. So I need an office, a spare bedroom, and then the master. But I want the master really big, and I want a huge bathroom. Like, I love my big showers. You know, ideally for me, dude, I'd have a shower half the size of this room, you know, just with all the jets, and then I can sit in there, steam shower.
Yeah.
Obviously have a pool and stuff like that, even though I'd be right near the ocean.
So you could technically downsize your house to like 3,500 square feet easily.
Yeah. Because, I mean, remember, I got space, like the guest house we don't really utilize. We do have 2 spare bedrooms. We only really need one. But I do use my space quite a bit. I mean, we actually laugh. We sleep in the spare bedroom a lot. Yeah. Like, it's like a getaway, right? I mean, Angie slept in the guest house a couple weeks ago. I think she was mad at me.
Why are you such a bully?
I'm the gym bully.
You are. You're a total bully. You bully everybody. Yeah. You know, but well, maybe one of these days I don't know.
You know, I know you hate California, but listen, if I was
Cali sucks.
Nah, the weather. I know the whole politics and everything, but the weather is great. I mean, people like Miami. I mean, Miami's cool.
So you know what it is for me? I don't care about weather. Unless I'm in like Seattle where it rains every day. I don't care if it's hot or cold. It doesn't affect my life. As long as I wonder what, yeah. As long as I can go about my day. Like, we know so many people that live in these areas that make really good livings, and they are fucking broke.
I know, but I'm saying, like, you asked me where, if money was no object and whatever, it's affordable for me, I would live in California because I think. Would you want to live in
Would you want to live in like a smaller community?
I mean, I don't think you can be away from everyone. So I mean,
what about like, for example, what about Santa Barbara north of there?
I never really been, so I can't speak on it.
I've seen it; it's beautiful. Or if you go further up the coast towards like,
where would you go, Jay? Utah, or that's your spot? That's where you're going to end up, huh?
He's going to leave us soon. We're going to need a producer. We'll put it.
I mean, I think. Like I like that St. George area or Hurricane. You said, all right. Yeah. We should take a spin up there and see what it looks like. You know,
it's not far. Yeah, like I did that. Remember that one time I went up. I just got in my truck and I drove up to St. George and I went on one of these RV shares and I rented a 35-foot trailer, hooked it up to my truck, and I just went for 3 days. I just started driving. I found a big national park. I parked the trailer and I went hiking all day. Came back, stayed in the trailer, and the next day hooked it up, drove to another area, parked, and I just did that for 3 days.
What's the ideal? I mean, you're the answer man with this. So taxes and what's expenses of living in Utah? There's state income tax, right?
I don't know the exact number, but it's not like one of the cheaper places. I've always said this: anytime where you have good school systems, you're gonna have higher taxes. And Utah, like Nevada,
but it's dry like here, right? But it snows in certain. Would it snow in Hurricane or?
Yeah.
So not a lot. Cedar City. How far is that from there? Okay.
Yeah, I want to go back up there more. There's a lot of cool stuff I want to see in like southeast Utah. I just got to make time.
Can you imagine if I called home today and said, Angie, we're going to probably move to Utah?
You'd be moving by yourself.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't like that very much, huh? What's the closest airport to Hurricane?
St. George.
It's small, yeah.
Well, that's why you need to get a plane. Don't be cheap. I've been telling him forever. I will get my pilot's license and I will buy a plane. It's going to happen. And then I will only charge you.
I can't wait to see this.
I will only charge you $5,000 an hour to fly with me.
Remember this, people. This guy says
I'm getting a plane, damn it.
All right, so we're heading to New York for the seminar.
Yeah.
Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym looks like it's going to be quite a big crowd there.
Yeah, I mean, you got.
I spoke to Steve this morning.
Yeah. How many people were there last year?
I can't even count, dude. The place was packed. It's free. So, I mean, how many, anyone that's coming, Bev Francis, when are we launching this? Tomorrow or tonight?
Tonight or tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, so Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym, Saturday, 12 to 4. We have a ton of us that are going to speak and be present. And I'm going to get to train Friday at Steve's gym, do some content. And
I get in at like 4 o'clock into Newark. So I don't know how long I'll probably get there. Like, I'm guessing it's going to take me a couple hours to get there.
Yeah, so we're all doing that, and then I'm going to take a quick trip over to Mass, see my parents, see my mom, and see my brothers and sisters, and I'm excited. She hasn't been feeling so great, my mom. So
how old's your mom now?
81 in March.
Wow, she in good health?
It's great because I'm going back for the Boston Pro for the 12th, and her birthday's the next day, 13th.
Wow, so she'll actually get to see you on your birthday.
Yeah.
How's the Boston Pro looking?
Awesome. It's picking up.
I actually saw. I see stuff popping up about it all the time.
They just announced Dexter Jackson's coming now.
Is he going to compete?
Yeah,
he'll probably win.
I should egg him on.
Do it. Egg him on. So he'll probably win.
I wish we could get him to come back.
He's coming back to get what does he have? 29 wins.
Yeah, he's got to get 30.
He's got to get 30. Then he can tie Ashley Kaltwasser. No force her to.
Is she beating him right now?
Yeah, she passed him this last year. She hit her 30th win last year.
And who was before that? Ronnie Coleman or Kevin Levrone?
Or Kevin Levrone. Yeah. And then Dexter passed him, and then Ashley, she did a number this last year. She won like 5 or 6 shows.
It's so crazy because, like, they do these comparisons. I just got hit with Instagram with, it had like me, Rami, Ronnie, Phil. they had us all lined up and they did this comparison, like who's the greatest.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that when eras get further and further away, like Arnold isn't really spoken about as like the greatest bodybuilder of all time anymore.
Yeah.
You notice as we get, like 20 years ago, everyone's like, Arnold's the greatest.
Yeah.
There was no one better. But obviously Coleman broke the record from Lee Haney, but it was like as we get further down the road, like people lose track of the
people don't talk about Dorian or Lee Haney.
Yeah,
and I think it's just because Ronnie was such a
I think it was
specimen.
I think we were the few that crossed to social media. I don't think like Haney and Dorian were able to cross to social media like Ronnie and myself and Phil, and like we all took advantage. We were at that transitional time of social media.
Do you think Arnold's the best Mr. Olympia?
For at the time, he was pretty damn good, dude. To win 7, and I mean, back then, I don't think the competition I've heard that Arnold didn't have to defend his title against anyone. People don't know that. And I would love the historians to chime in on this and tell me how many Olympias Arnold won without a competitor against him. Because there were times that he did. And it was only $500 at that time, I think, also. But, Ronnie Coleman's probably the biggest specimen.
Yeah. I just think people forgot about people before Ronnie because Ronnie was so ridiculous. They remember you and Ronnie, but you don't hear people talking about Dorian Yates like that.
Yeah, but
and Ronnie, he was a freak.
See, Dorian Yates for me, like, I would have to say, like, he freaked me out more than Ronnie Coleman did.
Because you probably looked at him more as a fan.
Well, I was a young kid.
And Ronnie you competed against.
And when I saw Dorian Yates and how big his back was and the calves and everything, I remember seeing him thinking, gosh, like, how can someone get this big,
And Ronnie was dramatically bigger than him.
Yeah, but I mean, I was competing against Ronnie, and I remember seeing him backstage, and I just saw flaws in his physique that I didn't see in Dorian Yates.
That's probably just difference between you were looking at Ronnie as a professional, and you were looking at Dorian as a fan coming up.
Yeah, because Ronnie, like, let's put it this way. Ronnie had the greatest back, right? Back double bicep. I didn't think he was, like, Dorian Yates was so wide. His lats, bro, were, it was nothing like it. Like, I couldn't believe how developed they were. And if you really compare their lats, like, his lats, like, Dorian's lat spread blew away, in my opinion, Ronnie Coleman's.
Width, for sure.
Yeah, width. Ronnie Coleman had a lot of detail, just like Phil Heath did, but they didn't have that. Like when I met Dorian, dude, his back was like, it seemed like it was this big. So it's all illusion of like what it is and density. And I think, that's where I was most impressed. And his calves were just bigger than anyone's I've ever seen.
Probably still to this day.
So when I saw the back, him walking, and then the calves, like, I was like, man, like, but I didn't think his quads weren't the best I had seen, but he was still he just had a lot of size and density. So
the Dorian physique, if he was competing in the last 5 years, where would he have fared?
Oh, dude, the condition was unmatched.
Yeah.
He'd win the Olympia today.
Do you think he would have beat Phil at Phil's peak?
Yeah, I think so, because he was just so much bigger than Phil.
Yeah.
Like Phil, like he's not naturally a huge guy, because he's not like he really like beat the genes of being narrow. Like that was his criticism, but he really expanded and he just had
maxed his physique to the full potential.
It's kind of like, it's like this. I mean, Flex Wheeler 93, how amazing was he? Yeah. And he couldn't beat Dorian Yates.
And he was,
that could have been the biggest physique. He was lighter in weight, but he couldn't touch Dorian Yates because he just, no matter how great the shape was, and I consider Phil Heath like a shape bodybuilder, not like a mass guy. Yeah. And I just don't think he could have competed with the width and all that, And that's just, obviously it's an opinion of mine, but.
No, I get that. But I see why people don't remember the guys before Ronnie. Because not only Ronnie just, look, when did Ronnie, what year did he win his first Olympia? That was 20 years ago.
98, yeah.
So 20-something years ago. People don't remember 30 years ago or 35 years ago or 40 years ago. They only saw pictures of it. Or there's not a ton of video out there of Lee Haney competing.
Yeah, listen, I would love people to comment who you think is the greatest Mr. Olympia. Like, who did you meet that like really kind of blew it away?
I'd say for me, I think physique wise, I think it was Ronnie.
Of course, yeah.
But overall, Mr. Olympia, if it wasn't for Arnold, he paved the way for this.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for, and I know he took the Olympia, that title that he had, into the movies. I might not, other people may not have ever heard of Mr. Olympia if they didn't hear it from Arnold Schwarzenegger, if they're not bodybuilding fans. So there's like different types of GOATs, so to speak.
Yeah.
Same with any other sport. Me and David Bay were talking about this the other day about like football. You could say, well, you can make an argument for Aaron Rodgers to be the GOAT, but you can make an argument for guys that have won more titles, guys that have won less. Dan Marino didn't win a title. Is he less of a quarterback than a guy who won one?
Well, Joe Montana was the greatest.
Of course. No, is Joe better than, Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers? What's that?
Tom Brady.
Is he better than Tom Brady? If Joe didn't have the wide receivers he had, would he be there? We were talking about this too. Look at how good Troy Aikman was. How good would Troy Aikman have been if he didn't have Emmitt Smith in that line, which when you have that good of a running back and a line that good, you don't have to be the best quarterback, because that running back is going to make that second, it's going to make everyone be honest, and especially when you got a line like that. But then he also had some of the greatest, wide receivers of all time. So, but it's an argument with any of these sports. So when you're talking about, we were just saying Arnold with the 7-time Mr. Olympia, what do you think of the Flex Lewis? I saw something came up the other day, and they were
question.
They were, a post came out. But what do you think?
They gave him the invite 2 years. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
I think 2 years ago.
Okay, he couldn't do it. He had some health issues, whatever. Yeah. So, I understand he's a 7-time 212, and we always talk about, like, I hate saying Mr. Olympia because it's confusing for people, right?
Yes.
I hate when people say, well, he's a 7-time Mr. Olympia. It's totally different.
He won 7 times his class.
He won his class.
Yes,
it's a different class. It's not the open Mr. Olympia. So,
yes.
I think that he definitely deserves a special invitation. There's a lot of people that say he should have to qualify. Mm-hmm. I would think he would want to test the waters since he has not competed in the open. I don't know if he's ever competed in an open
He hasn't
show.
competed in almost 4 years,
Yeah,
too.
it's really hard. Like, I don't know any comeback that someone's been off the stage for 4 years and had great success at it. So, I mean, he could write the history books as the first guy to ever do that.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know if I could do it, no matter how great my willpower was. And listen, we know he's entrenched in obviously his business here and everything, other things that we probably don't even know. But I feel he should have the invitation. Mm-hmm. I feel that if he does not compete this year, they should not give him another one. Mm-hmm. They gave it to Kai Green for years, and he just wouldn't take it. Mm-hmm. If anyone deserves it, it's him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the question is, like you said, how is he going to fare coming back after being off for 4 years? Mm-hmm. I mean, if I were him, I would be like really pumping it up right now, and I know Dan put out a post that kind of caused a lot of opinions, but in Dan's defense, like I read the post that he did, he said, someone asked the question, is Flex Lewis qualified? And listen, we don't even know if these are real questions. This could have been. This is a hype for the Olympia because it's January. The thing is in December.
Yeah, we're still
like it's so far. It's almost a year away. So it'd almost be like the show had just ended. Is he qualified? No. He's qualified for the 212.
That's factual as per the IFBB.
And then the next question was, will you be giving special invitations? And he says, well, guys, it's only January. Hang tight.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the next day, it caused a lot of channels to cause some talk.
I had so many people forward that to me. Like, I can't believe this. And I went and read it. And I thought, I didn't see anything wrong with it.
No.
Though, because it was, is Flex Lewis qualified? Yes, he's qualified for the 212. That's not up to Dan. That's the IFBB's rules. You are qualified for life in your division. Is he qualified for the open? No, he's not.
Yeah.
Is that factually accurate? Yes. As per the IFBB. Is he going to get a special invite? It's only January. He deserves one.
He didn't. Sure. It didn't say, though, is he going to get a special invitation? It said, are you giving out special invitations?
Yeah, or something along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but for him, I didn't see anything wrong. Everything Dan said, this wasn't Dan's opinion. This is the IFBB's
But let me
rules.
ask you a question. For 2021, did they give out a special invitation? They did not,
I don't think he did. I don't think he got one last year. I know he was talking about it. And I know something.
No one got the invite, right? Rami got it in 2020.
Rami
right?
got it because of COVID. Nobody got one last year.
I just think that if they're going to do special invitations, they should have at least one every year. I thought Sergio or Steve could have got one last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fan favorites, right?
Yeah.
But then people would question, no, I don't agree. So-and-so should have got it.
I saw on one of the podcasts, and the guys were arguing back and forth about it. And it's like, hey, you know what, man? I understand every argument, but
it's all opinions anyway.
It is. It is opinions. And in the promotion of the show and the sport, I think it would be because remember when Flex was dominating the 212, Phil was dominating the Open. They were just year in, year out, boom, 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 boom. And people would always say, man, what if they went against each other? It would be awesome.
That
would
have been awesome.
Of course, yeah. It would be awesome to see Flex step on stage in the Open, and then that conversation's over. Let's see how he does.
Yeah.
So does he deserve a special invite?
Yeah, yes. If I was Flex, man, the show's in December, so I would be scheduling those guest appearances like as you're coming up to your biggest,
of course,
before you start tearing it down.
I even thought about this. If he knew a long time ago, God, he could have went and done an Arnold.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's a big paycheck. I know people will say it's not about the money. Bullshit.
Do you think he has a shot to win it?
I don't know the answer for that because we've never seen him
compared to some.
We have never seen him compare
next to Brandon Curry.
Yeah. See, I look. He has nobody has a perfect physique, and we just don't know what he's going to look like without any restrictions.
I feel like there's some guys like Brett Wilkin. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen him stacked up against
nobody yet, really,
like a Brandon Curry or a William Bonnick, right?
Yeah.
He did a smaller.
He did the show Chicago Pro.
Okay, so he didn't have those guys in the lineup, but. That's what's kind of exciting about what the Arnold is going to bring because you're going to see some of these international people. There's some couple guys that haven't got to stand next to the big dogs yet. Yeah. And I think that,
how would have Flex done in the Arnold?
Same question. We haven't seen him stand next to Brandon Curry, William Bonnick, like for quite some time. I mean, I think Bonnick used to do the 212, but
he did years ago.
We haven't seen him next to Brett Wilkin and,
because a lot of those guys are similar.
Kuklo.
I think there are a lot of those.
Steve Kuklo is a monster.
Yeah.
And Flex is, he's 5'6" or 7 or.
I think he's about Nick Walker's height.
Okay.
Yeah. In that range. What, 5'6", 5'5", 5'6", somewhere in there. Yeah. Look, it's a tall tale. It's a tough task, but he's confident. I mean, I've seen Neil put stuff out, and I've seen him talk about it, and all he can say is, "Hey, man, let's see what happens." Yeah. Wish him the best.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. It's in December here in Las Vegas. Mr. Olympia is back in Las Vegas at Planet Hollywood, and it's going to be a sight to see. So make sure you guys, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Share this video. Comment below. We asked a couple questions on here on who's the greatest, and what do you think about the Flex Lewis special invitation? Do you think he deserved
I think if Flex competes, I think we need to petition you to come compete too.
Yeah, those days are over. So for episode 21, we are out.